we continue to roll out the program.
Could I just comment on that as well? Because I just want to say that I think oftentimes we make these announcements and they're real, but that it does take a little bit of time. And in this case, people are moving with great dispatch. But there are three that were mentioned today. The oldest one, if I can call it that, just a couple of months ago, this minister, we requested $90 million over 3 years as a city, and the province gave us $90 million over 3 years, which we are deploying today on putting in place more supportive housing. We're actually in discussion with providers that will do that for different groups of people who need help. The second one was the announcement today of 294 supportive housing units in addition to that, and the minister, you heard him say himself, some of those will be in place within weeks, which is very fast moving. And then the third, of course, is this initiative being undertaken today in the first of 5 shelters. If there's a challenge in front of us, it is to get even better at scaling things up faster when they work. But I just want to sort of underline that when people often will say there isn't anything being done, it's not enough, and we need to do a lot more. But there are 3 very significant things that I think each in their own way are significant steps forward, and that's all they are. But I want to say that because we meet often to sort of decide on things that we can try to do together, and these are things we're actually doing, the $30 million one being very substantial over each of the next 3 years.
Mayor Tory, you mentioned that when you spoke to people who were living on the street and asked them why they wouldn't come into shelters, they said they didn't feel safe, or they didn't feel comfortable, or they wasn't in the right place. Does this shelter, is it different in any other way than any other shelter? Should people feel safer here or more comfortable?
Well, I think oftentimes what they're referring to are some of the permanent shelter beds versus those that are not, because those that are not are clearly not up to what we would all expect, but they are meant to be temporary arrangements that are made to ensure that people don't always can find a place to stay overnight, especially in the cold weather, but now we're going to be extending that to the year round. And so I would say what's different about this shelter, the New Hope shelter, is that it is new, it is permanent shelter beds, and I think that gives us a better opportunity, especially with all the learnings that we've had from all the ones that have been operated, 62 of them in Toronto, most of them operated by wonderful agencies like the Salvation Army, how to do it better. And so I would say people probably would be more confident coming here. But I think the other thing we have to keep in mind is that many of these people have had such traumatic experiences over such a long period of time that we need to find ways to treat that as the root cause of their fear and of their bad experience, as opposed to just saying it's running a better shelter. And, I mean, really, what we want to do is get those people that have those kinds of issues out of shelters and into supportive housing, because shelters are not the right place for them. It's no wonder they don't feel comfortable there.
Mayor Tory, can we get your reaction to an ad put out by the Toronto Police Union today depicting you, the chief, and Andy Pringle laughing? Mike McCormack accuses the 3 of you of not listening and not caring about the staffing issues he's talking about. What is your reaction to his comments?
Well, I think this ad is most unfortunate. It is a throwback to the old days of kind of police union bosses kind of trying to bully people, and imagine having blood splattered behind us in the form of 911. There are issues at 911, and the chief is right on top of them. He sent one of his best of the deputy chiefs in to fix it. They've hired 2 shifts of 20 people new in order to supplement the ranks at 911 to get the job done. But the notion that is best moved forward, that problem is best solved by deploying blood behind 3 people who are seen to be taking this lightly, I think is not going to achieve anything. It's not the way I want to lead this city, and it's certainly not the kind of business that I want to do with people who I need to sit down in partnership with to address some of these problems.
Is there a growing rift between the union and management? Do you think that reflects poorly on anyone?
Well, I've certainly been, it's funny because I've been carrying on what I thought were very constructive discussions with Mr. McCormack in his job, and he has his job to do. We have moved to make sure the chief was on top of the 911 issue, which he is. We have moved to hire 80 additional police officers. We are still, giving the police $1 billion to operate their police service this year. And so the notion to me that the way you deal in those kind of constructive discussions is to put an ad in the newspaper showing people laughing while blood is spattered behind them in the form of 911 is just, to me, beyond comprehension. It is a throwback to the old days of the way police union bosses acted, and I just don't really want any part of it, but I don't control that. I just have my job to do, and I'll continue to do it the way that I do, which is hopefully responsible and respectful.
Can you also get your reaction to the random shootings in the northwest end of the city? There was an arrest today or yesterday And we're just hearing that a 4-year-old girl was shot at. Do you think the public should have been warned earlier that this was happening? You know, it happened on Sunday, or?
That's the kind of judgment call that the police have to make. I mean, people quite properly say that the law provides, and just common sense says that I don't interfere in those kinds of things or pass judgment without all the facts. I just thank God the police did their work and found this person and brought him into custody, and now the justice system will take its course. I'm horrified at the notion that any 4-year-old, or for that matter, anybody in the city should be subject to random shooting. And there's a number of problems that are underlying that, including some of the socioeconomic problems, the trafficking in guns, which we've talked about before with the federal government, and other things, the gangs and drug activity. But again, the police have done their work. They've brought somebody into custody. The justice system will take its course, and I can't really second guess the police on the way they carried on the investigation.
Just going back to today's announcement, you talked to Mayor about sort of a continuum of care, to use your words. What does it mean? Does it mean full-time doctor nurses in the shelters, or part-time?
Well, I think that's why you do 5 shelters at a time, to see what works. And I think if there's a challenge in front of government, it is when you find something that works, you scale it up faster than we often do, or if you find something that doesn't work, you tweak it till it does work and then scale it up. And so I think in the end, the people from the LIN or otherwise can better tell you the precise details of how medical services will be deployed in the shelters. But I think the important thing from today is that this government has listened. They've listened to people with lived experience, they've listened to advocates, they've listened to experts, they've listened to people from other governments, and they've responded with something that I think is a significant step forward, and that we are now going to have in these 5 shelters embedded medical professionals who are going to help keep people healthier here. And I think that's very important. And so where it goes from there, we'll see. But I certainly will be an advocate for making sure that, as was just said by the minister, once we've proven that it works, we can roll it out as quickly as possible, because it should be everywhere in an effective form.